You're listening to Neurodivergent Mates. Hello and welcome to another episode of Neurodivergent Mates. I'm your host, Will Wheeler, joined with my main man, Photon John. What's going on, brother?
It's good to be back.
Good to be back. You feeling a bit relaxed, mate?
Nice and relaxed. Couple of weeks holiday. It's been very nice. I play guitar and video games, and that's about it.
Yeah, good, man. Good. Well, and did you go away anywhere or see anyone?
No, stuck close to home. Mum's been a little unwell, so looking after her. Just having a good time, though.
That's good.
No responsibilities. Autistic time out, to just do nothing, not people.
Did I see you were driving along and your dog was in the back looking out the window or something?
Yeah, he's a pretty cute dog.
Yeah, what's his name?
Bentley.
To
my sister, she named him.
Ah, nice. But you know what? What we should really be talking about is our awesome guest that we've got coming onto the show today. So today what we're going to be covering is living a full life with an invisible condition with our good friend Bella Stevens. Bella, thank you so much for coming today. How are you today? Oh, whoops, we got her on mute, so we better take her off mute. I'm so sorry for that. Talk about setting you up for failure. Bella, how's it going?
I'm so good. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem at all. We were actually, before we started the show, Bella was we're talking a little bit about the Olympics and stuff like that, and you were saying that your father has a friend's kid or son or daughter who's going to be competing in it or something. Is that correct?
Yeah, one of my dad's clients' daughters is competing in the relay.
Nice. What have you been thinking about the Olympics anyway?
To be honest, I actually haven't watched too much of it, other than the track and field in the events that we were talking about before, that 100 and 200, because of the Netflix series we've been watching. It's cool watching people that you can recognize from other areas compete.
Yeah, cool. Awesome stuff. But we might get back to that in a sec. But what we might do just before we get started, so for any new listeners, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe, like, and follow to all of our social media platforms. We're available on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, X, Twitch, YouTube, LinkedIn, and you can also check us out on anywhere where you listen to your podcast. Please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, rate the show. It really helps with the algorithm. Also, too, we'd like to do a big shout out to our sponsors, Neurodiversity Academy. You can check out all the awesome work we're doing there at neurodiversityacademy.com. Also, too, if you are listening, just little bit of a warning, some discussions may be triggering. If you need help, reach out to a loved one or call emergency services. We are not doctors. This is a space for sharing experience and strategies. And last of all, if you've got any questions during the live show, which we're currently in at the moment, please feel free to put it in the comments section. And we will, if it's a good question, we'll put it up on the screen here for Bella or myself or Photon John to be able to answer that for us. But that's all about that there. Bella, you ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go.
Nice. You know what? I think the best thing, I know a little bit about yourself, but I think our guests would really love to hear a little bit about who Bella is.
Yeah, for sure. So, everyone, I'm Bella. I am 23. I live on the northern beaches of Sydney. I'm currently a holistic health coach and personal trainer, and so I have my own business in that, which I'll talk a little bit about later. But in terms of, pardon me, let's get that out of the way.
All good.
In terms of most of the way that I spend my time, I'm a mad keen surfer. I'm very much in the Pilates space. And I've been doing a fair bit of volunteer work recently for the guys that we met at the Thriving Workplace event, that One Another group. So, yeah.
Nice. Cool. So, I know you were into a fair bit of surfing, right? Like you've done some pretty awesome stuff with surfing. You weren't watching the surfing at the Olympics?
No, I haven't watched much of the surfing at the Olympics this year because I usually watch the World Surf League. So
Yeah, cool.
the events that are pretty regular.
Did you see the viral photo of that guy who's like standing upright with his board upright next to him?
No.
Pretty amazing.
You know the Brazilian. I think it's Gabriela. What's his name? The Brazilian. He was
Gabriel Medina?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was midair coming off a wave,
and then he's just standing there going like number one like that, and it is a pretty awesome. If he gets, I don't know if they've actually finished. I don't think they've done the medals yet, but if he like wins gold, it will be pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I don't think they finished it yet.
But you used to do a little bit of surfing, correct? Did you used to do it professionally, or I can't remember what you were saying, or you've gone and surfed against professionals?
Professionals probably a stretch. I was competing. I started surfing when I was about 5 or 6, and then I was surfing competitively from when I was about 10 or 11 till about 18, 19.
Is that like Grom? That's Groms? Is it called Groms? Yeah, that's right.
Groms for sure. And then kind of going into not to the stage where I wouldn't say professional because I've won a couple of competitions, but you're not getting paid by sponsors and things like that. But yeah, very cool.
No, that's awesome. But a big thing what we wanted you to come on today, and we're very big on trying to really showcase what people do. So, please share a little bit about the work you're doing. You're doing some really great stuff around health and fitness, all of that type of stuff. We'd love to hear more about it.
Yeah. So as I mentioned before, I started my holistic health coaching and personal training business 2 years ago now. So I do a bit of a mix of one-on-one work with like face-to-face clients and also online personal training sessions. And then in the health coaching space, that's also like online. And I have a couple of online offerings that are courses that I have written but don't involve like personal coaching by me. I work in a couple of Pilates studios across the Northern Beaches just for a bit of variety. I'm kind of one of those people that likes to have a couple of things going on, so work isn't the same every day.
Are you sure you're not ADHD?
No.
That could be a possibility, right?
For sure. And then last week, well, actually, you might think the same after I say this, but last week I started, I'm a big fan of cooking. So I started my own little energy ball business out of my home.
Actually, I saw that on Instagram before and I liked it. I was like, oh, okay, nice. Good job. So that's your new business, is it?
Yeah. So it's just like a fun little side business, but I feel like it works really well with the holistic health coaching. A lot of my clients often say, they get that mid-afternoon crash kind of in energy. So these are really good if you want to go to the gym after work or if you don't have time for like a full breakfast. They're kind of the healthiest versions of like bliss balls that you will get.
Are they gluten-free?
They are.
Good. That's good. That's awesome. No, I think a big thing as well is that I know for myself, especially as you get older, all of that type of thing, that your mind and body are such a valuable asset type of thing. And I think for me, especially taking the time out to say meditate or even just do exercise is so vital. So, with a lot of the clients that you work with, are they coming to you with, say, I don't know, they may have goals in place and they're like, look, I'm really struggling with this. I'm not getting through my day. By the end of the day, I'm feeling like this. What are you helping them to achieve, out of curiosity?
So I guess I work in a couple of different instances with that in particular. So with my personal training clients, a lot of the training is revolved around strength-based work, but also I incorporate Pilates, but also kind of rehab I have a couple of older clients. This is why I say this, for joint health and joint pain as you kind of get older, keeping those muscles and joints strong is really important. Just for even simple things like walking up the stairs in your home or being able to pick up kids. A couple of mums like coming back after pregnancy, redeveloping core muscles, all of that. And then I think the flip side of that is the health coaching side. So if people are really struggling to get through their day energy wise, you go, okay, well, like, let's look at the nutrition piece. Are you getting enough sleep? What else? I guess, again, like the type of exercise that they're doing. It's a very like all encompassing, and that's why I love the holistic health, is there's so many different aspects that you can look at. But I think a particular area that I'm really passionate about is gut health, for sure.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an important topic. But a big thing when we were talking about getting you coming onto the podcast, and and this is a topic really dear to yourself, is that you do live with an invisible condition. Did you want to share that with the audience, and how is that maybe helped you to on the path to what you're doing now, type of thing?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis when I was a couple of weeks old. So I've had it for the last, 22, 23 years. And I guess, is this the time that you want me to talk about like the story of what the expectations?
Oh, yeah. Well, no, just share it and we'll just blend it into the podcast, mate. Yeah. It's all good.
So from a very young age, I guess a couple of the expectations that we were given, I was a baby at the time, so I can't recall much of this, but what the information was passed on to my parents was that I would be expected to be in hospital kind of twice a year for about a fortnight at a time to be on IV antibiotics. I would have to have daily physio, so like chest percussions where they would lightly tap on your lungs to help clear the mucus, because for just briefly, like people with cystic fibrosis, the mucus in their lungs is slightly thicker, so it can get stuck, and that's kind of where more of the like infections and colds and stuff come from. So if you can keep your lungs clear, that's kind of the name of the game. I have like digestive enzymes every day to help with like food metabolism and food digestion. But I think all of that, in terms of like my health journey and the reason that I've moved into the space that I have, I'm a really big believer in that you're always going to be the best advocate for your health. You know your body better than anyone. And I think as well, when you're diagnosed with a condition, you get all of the general information or everything that they sort of know at the time that you're diagnosed with, or, at the time of diagnosis. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be your reality. And I think me and my parents we really tried very hard to make sure that what the doctors told us was not going to be our reality. So for example, with the whole like hospital admission thing, I think I've been admitted to hospital maybe 4 or 5 times in the last 23 years. Like,
wow. Considering that you were told it would have been every 2 weeks type of thing, correct?
Yeah, for like 2 weeks, twice a year. Absolutely. And a big part of that came back to, okay, well, what were the expectations? What do we have to do to create a different health story or a different health journey? And we did all of the research. We asked all of the questions. We trialed and experimented with 8,000 different things, but
I see, sorry to cut you off there, but did I see, and because like obviously after I met you and found out a little, I did some research, all that. Yeah. Did I hear correctly that your parents moved closer to the ocean or something because the sea air, for example, is better for people like yourself?
Yes, absolutely. So we moved to the beaches when I was 3 years old because, funnily enough, actually, the doctors did tell us this, that being in and around the ocean air, so side note, but one of the treatments for people with cystic fibrosis is saline nebulizers. So you're basically breathing in salty air to help thin and clear the mucus in the lungs.
So is that like a nebulizer, like the thing you put on, and that's all that is salty air? Yeah. So it's not like chemical, because I remember like I'm an asthmatic, And I remember as a kid, I'd have to put on the nebulizer and sit, but that was all chemical. Well, I don't know if it was chemicals, but it was some type of antibiotic or something.
Yes. So this one in particular is hypertonic saline. So it is just like sterile salt water, basically.
That's interesting.
But there are other nebulizers that you can have that are antibiotic-based ones to help clear if you have lung infections or anything like that. But the saline nebulizer is still one that I do every day, even living near the ocean. But I think that has been such a big piece in being able to keep my lungs the way that they are, and surfing on top of that, you know.
Who would have thought that would be, because I'm assuming you'd probably struggle with breathing at times, and that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Was there times where, say, you were paddling out on your board and you're like, oh my God, I'm really feeling like I can't breathe today type of thing? Or because you got to be, you got to be quite, I've done it before. I was screwed when you paddle out back there.
I was going to say every time I go surfing, no, it's not that. But I was absolutely and funnily enough, because I'm a surf instructor as well, so I often take people surfing to teach them, the whole world of surfing and getting up and jumping on waves. But paddling is 100% the hardest part about surfing.
Totally.
Because it's a totally different fitness to anything else. And I think for me now, I definitely don't struggle with it anymore, but it's just one of those things that you build up a tolerance with, like anything.
Yeah. So it's like running long distance. The more you do it, the better you come at it type of thing. So would you say that your lungs have, I don't know how it sort of works, but have grown stronger type of thing from that? Yes,
most definitely. And I definitely have periods where, you get sick and you've kind of got to work your way back up.
Do you find change of the seasons do that?
So winter, I'm much more mindful, because I find the cold air, actually my lungs feel quite sensitive, similar to asthmatics, I suppose.
Yeah, because I struggle with the cold air.
Yeah.
Dry cold air, not humid dry air isn't as bad, but cold dry air is.
Yep, absolutely. And so for example, in winter, I will sleep with a heater on in my room to keep the air warm.
Yeah.
I can't remember. It must have been a few years ago now, but it must have been quite a cold and dry winter. But it was like clockwork at 2 or 3 a.m. each night or morning or whatever you want to call it. I would wake up coughing because the temperature drops at a certain time in the night. And you go, how weird,
Yeah, no. But do you know what as well, right? There's been times where I've, say, gone to Melbourne and stayed at a cousin's house or something, and they didn't have a heater in the room. They gave me heaps of blankets, and you're warm, but you're breathing in the cold air. I'm assuming so. If you did that, that could be very bad for you.
It's just, it just makes you cough, honestly, because it's changing the pressure and it's changing the temperature inside your lungs. So it just, ends up in coughing fits almost.
Yeah, crazy. And do you find as well, sometimes, I say, and obviously asthma is probably a lot different to what you live with, for example, but I find that it's if I get caught, it's hard to explain, but say if I have a night where I'm out in the dry air or go to sleep without the heater on or something, I could get that caught in that little window, and that could cause my asthma to be bad for a month, if that makes sense. Yeah. And then I have to be really on top of it. And seriously, I only just sort of got over a sort of spell of asthma, probably just the last past week or so, but that's from having to, because I did have the door open one night and then I breathed some cold air in. I woke up and I was sick, and it just one thing led to another. But crazy time. Yeah, crazy times. But out of curiosity, right? We've spoken about treatments and all that. Have you seen that treatments have changed because I will say that one thing, I remember when I was going to school, there was a girl who had cystic fibrosis when we were in school, and she actually passed away. So it's a serious thing. And what's that?
Well, just to frame it as well, I had a friend, or my cousin had a friend when I was in my early teens, and this is in the 90s. Yes, I'm that old. And her life expectancy was 20s or so, or something like that. And I've recently met other people with cystic fibrosis. I don't have a lot of exposure to it, but I found that has changed quite a bit, life expectancy and treatment. So
because I've known some people to get like lung transplants and stuff like that. So what has changed since you were young, or what's the treatments like these days that people are living long lives these days?
Yeah, absolutely. And so you think, for me, for example, like that was 20 years ago that I was diagnosed. So the information that they have around it is very different now and much more progressed, I would say. But yeah, what you mentioned, things like lung transplants or liver transplants as well. So CF does affect a couple of the organs in the body as well. But things
can I ask how it does that? Out of curiosity, like what does it do that it affects, say, your liver and it probably sounds like a really dumb question, but I'm thinking like liver, like someone who's a real bad alcoholic is going to have liver problems or something, and it's sort of like, oh, okay, well, how does that work, type of thing. It's just interesting.
The liver one, I probably can't give you a good enough answer, but for the pancreas, I can. So, for example, like having to have digestive enzymes, because the way they used to explain it to me when I was younger was like, picture your, I guess, like pancreas and internal system as like a fan that's digesting food. And they basically said, so your fan doesn't spin like fast enough, so we give it like extra help to help with the nutrition absorption, for example. So that would be one example.
Oh, okay. There you go. I'm thinking of a fan in your stomach or something.
I know. So long. I was like,
and it really is like a symphony, right? All your organs, they all work in concert. So when something is out,
everything else is out.
Concert is out,
yeah, and other things definitely have to try and not compensate, but work harder for sure.
See, I remember when I saw you speak at the what conference was it? Thriving at Work. Yeah, conference, right? You were talking about like you could have like a full night's sleep and you would still wake up exhausted. What was that like? What was cool? Was that because you weren't breathing correctly, or you're coughing all night, or what was the go with that?
I actually probably CF would play a part in that, but I wouldn't say that was CF related per se. I think that was very much the job that I was in and the hours that I was working. I felt like I couldn't properly take time to really take care of myself and make sure that I was getting appropriate rest, or even, funnily enough, I was speaking to a friend, like the different types of rest. There's not, sleep is not the only type of rest that we require. Mental rest, emotional rest, and I felt like I probably wasn't getting enough of that as well. But yeah, that period was, how we talked about burnout at that event. You're kind of getting close. I wouldn't say that I was completely, because I know some people have been through much trickier periods of burnout, but I would just say that was my body trying to catch up with the amount of work that I was doing.
Yeah, interesting.
Can I just point out, it's really interesting, these parallels that I'm seeing, because Will and I have spoken a lot about how entrepreneurial tendencies happen a lot with neurodivergent people. And a lot of the reason for that is needing to be able to organize your work around your requirements. For you to, and it's something that I'm sure everyone can relate to. Would love to organize their work around their mental health and everything, but in particular neurodivergent people, it sounds. I'm hearing really interesting parallels here, where starting your own business seems like the inevitable way to go to fix this sort of problem that you're talking about. And the burnout, I find that an interesting turn of phrase as well. We use that a lot in the autism world and the ADHD world.
Yeah. Well, funnily enough, the panel that I spoke on at that Thriving Workplace event was intentional work-life design. And they asked me to speak on it because of my experience, I guess, yes, with my health condition, but the reason that I have curated my life the way that I have is so that I can take really good care of this and of my health, but also do the work that I'm really passionate about.
What sort of work were you in prior where you were getting to that point of burnout, if you don't mind sharing? Because it'd be interesting to see where you were to what made you go, okay, I need to do this and now I'm here type of thing.
Yeah, so I was working as a personal trainer in a commercial gym at the time. And I was doing, you see, when you say this as well, people go, oh, like 35 hours, that's not a lot. So I was doing 35 hours of work, which was
in a gym.
Yeah,
they were half an hour sessions. So I was doing 70 sessions a week, and most of them were back to back for about 6 hours at a time. So I was doing split shifts, starting at like 5 a.m., working till about 12, and then I would go home, literally sleep and eat, and then come back to work from like 4 till 7.
Were they aware that you had cystic fibrosis?
Yes, but it's also, again, like what we talked about, an invisible condition, and it wasn't something that I shared with a lot of people for a very long time.
And people probably wouldn't understand either.
Yeah, well, most people go, well, what is that? What does that mean?
We hear that.
Well, yeah, we do hear that, but we also were sort of thinking that when we were getting the questions ready for the podcast, we're like, this is really interesting because we don't know enough about it. Yeah. It will be interesting to actually learn a lot more about it while we're speaking to you type of thing, because I think as well that, and Kev, I mean, Photon John, sorry. Some people just don't understand. We do need breaks sometimes. Everyone, to tell you the truth, everyone needs a break. Do you know what I mean? Like if I was being pushed like that, we'd all probably burn out, if that makes sense.
Sometimes I feel like we're out here fighting for everybody, not just the invisible condition or neurodivergent crowd. It's all three of us can sit here and say that having the ability to take control of our work a bit more, our work life, and balance it in a way that we know will work with us, sort of speaks to the idea that if our bosses had listened to us in previous employment and allowed us a bit more flexibility around that, we'd probably still be at some of those jobs.
Do you know what, right? So you know how Spanish, the Spanish culture has a siesta at lunchtime. Yeah. I wonder what that.
I don't have that.
Well, I'm pretty sure Japanese, maybe Japanese culture does something similar. Where, because I've seen pictures of where there's people have is it French? I don't know, but you see beds. Yeah, you see beds at their desk, and they all have a little bit of a sleep at lunchtime.
Yeah, man, nap time should not stop after kindergarten.
Yeah. But I just wonder, it would be interesting to maybe even see, if there was research behind it or something, how that would affect people in the workplace, or are they more productive? I don't know. It'd be interesting to look into.
Definitely.
Because I don't know. I might feel, because I don't know about you guys. If I had a nap at lunchtime, I'd probably feel a little bit groggy, and I'd need a little bit of time to get myself back together. But then I'd have a second wind, and I'd probably be able to put in more work, if that makes sense.
You take an hour, but you sleep for 20 minutes. That's the key.
I was going to say there's actually, they have done studies on it, but there's a sweet spot in terms of if you sleep for less than
20 minutes.
So if you sleep between half an hour and I think an hour and a half, if you wake up outside of those times, you won't feel groggy. But if you sleep, if you wake up in between that 30 minutes and an hour and a half, you will.
Yeah, I think it's called, is it called sleep inertia or something? I think
Yes.
it's something like that. I can't remember. I really can't remember. But do you know what? There's another. So if you go like to Germany, for example, so I remember when I was in Germany, you can actually, this is a funny one, and I don't know if it makes you more productive, but you can actually go down to the beer garden, and some people actually sit there and like may take like a longer lunch and have a few beers with their mates, all of that. Then they go back to work, and if you take a longer lunch, for example, because you're hitting the piss with your mates, you can they then work a little bit longer into the night type of thing. So I don't know how that would be in productivity, or maybe that's where we've got to do research on that. But it seems to work for them.
See, if I have a couple of beers and then stop, I'll just fall asleep.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I feel like there would be a point where there was just no coming back. Like,
yeah, totally. I think the Australian culture is just a little bit, probably not as disciplined as like some of these other cultures.
No. So when I was in Vienna and everyone's just drinking on the streets, I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. But if you did this in Australia, it would be absolute chaos.
Yeah, man, there'd be fights breaking out, all of that type of stuff. But moving on from all of that, now, and I think this actually works in well to it. What are some common misconceptions that people have about your condition?
So this is actually a really interesting question. And when you sent this through, I wanted to think about it a little bit because, first of all, a lot of people actually don't know what cystic fibrosis is. So when I say CF, because of the abbreviation, people often think chronic fatigue. That's like one misconception. But another one is CF is different for everyone. So because it's a recessive gene condition, it means that there needs to be two genes that come together to make, one. So like my parents obviously had one each, and then when they had me, they came together. But because those genes, there are like heaps and heaps of different types of gene combinations that still create cystic fibrosis. It means that it affects people in different ways. So the stories that you were telling just before about like the people that you knew with CF, it can be anywhere from like mild to quite severe. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand, because I've had like quite a few people, when I tell them, they'll be like, oh, like you poor thing. But it's also like my life's fantastic, but I have also worked really hard to make sure that it is that way. But I think that people think it is just like a one size fits all. That would probably
almost like neurodiversity type of thing. It's almost the exact same thing when people explain neurodiversity type of thing. It's so diverse within itself that
spectrum.
Well, yeah, and you can't. There's not a one size fits all type of thing, and all of that type of stuff there. But it is interesting because but what would you like more people to know about it out of curiosity? Like, and I think, and if we're looking at it from a neurodiversity perspective, for example, right? Sometimes, like, I know Photon John and myself are sometimes like, I'd be great if people just knew that I struggle in a hectic work environment, or I need a little bit of time at lunchtime on my own, or whatever that type of thing is. What would you like people to sort of know about it type of thing?
Such an interesting question, because I think as well for so long, and because it isn't an invisible condition, I almost didn't want people to know from the point of view, like I didn't want them to think to treat me differently, or that it affected me in a way that like normal people can't function. So I guess what I would want people to know, sometimes I feel like I want people to know how hard I have to work to present like a normal person.
Yeah, well, there's so many, masking type of thing. Yeah, wow, so many similarities.
Yeah, because I think like, I think as well, it would be good if people knew that like similar sense, but the lengths that you have to go to create health that other people don't have to work as hard for. For example,
take for granted.
Oh my God, don't even get me on that train, because that's totally like other conversation. But I think so, like for me personally, I don't drink alcohol, and like I don't smoke or, you know, anything like that. But for other people that do, I there's no judgment behind it, but I go, like, I work so hard to create the health that I have for myself, and these are the choices that I have made. So people will often be like, "Oh, like, why don't you drink?" But I don't want to have to
What's wrong with you? Yeah.
the story.
But see, you know, it's a growing trend among people, and even like my friend group and stuff, are just quitting drinking, especially young people at the moment. And you know, I've read a lot about it and spoken to my friends about it, and they're just tired of that question. It's like, it's that very Australian culture. It's like health issues or not, or condition or not, they're just, oh, why are you drink? It's like it's un-Australian or something. And I think people are just looking after their health. You know, we need to stop. It's a really outdated kind of thing. I say this while I'm sitting there having a beer on the podcast, but
That's okay.
Can I say, but would it get, so obviously you're not drinking or whatever like that, right? Is it always assumed that you're now the designated driver? Are you
100%.
Are you happy with that, or is it like, just for one night, I'd really like to just not have to drive all you drunken idiots home? And like, I don't know, maybe it is.
So during like year 11 and 12 at school, like all my friends would, you know, drink. So I was 100% the designated driver then. All I could think about was the amount of money I've saved you guys in Ubers is unreal.
Pay up, right?
Yeah.
But now, thankfully, like the friends that I have are so much more appreciative of like me dropping them places, and I'll often offer because I want to make sure that they get home safe and all of that. But I think the gratitude piece, you know, is nice.
Yeah, totally. No, that's awesome. But you know, I think going back to probably, you know, especially the work you're doing and all of that. But what role I think that should does, but it's okay. What role does physical activity and exercise play in managing your condition?
I would say it's probably the biggest aspect of managing my condition. So from, like, just to give you a bit of a picture of it, but from when I was very, very little, I think the first probably form of exercise I did would have been like jumping on a trampoline. So my parents would help me jump on a trampoline. Again, that's good from a like lung clearance and you know, bouncing the stuff off your lungs.
While it was fun too, correct?
Fun, exactly. Like I think as well, when you're so little, you don't understand. Like you don't have the information. You're not aware of what's going on. So my parents were great at finding like fun ways of getting me into things without it being like, oh, like you have to go to swimming or you have to learn how to surf or anything like that. And then from like when I was quite young, or when I could then move into these things like swimming, surfing, all through school, I was doing like every sport imaginable, like cross country running, basketball, like touch football. And then as I've gotten older, very much like weight training, boxing, Pilates. So it's been an evolving, I guess, journey exercise wise. And sometimes you enjoy doing things more than others. Sometimes you get sick of them. You find something new. It's great. There's so many different forms of exercise and it is so much fun. So I would definitely say it's like the biggest part of my health journey.
Do you know what just come to mind while you were speaking just then, especially thinking about you jumping up and down on a trampoline type of thing, right? And it's actually got nothing to do about you jumping on a trampoline. But I was only saying this to my wife the other day that I find, and sorry to go back to my asthma, but back when I was like younger, I used to find I would struggle with my asthma a lot more than what I do as an adult. Yeah. But I when I think back to it, being a young kid, I was being a young kid. So, you know, I'd want to go play Spotlight or Tiggy at night in the middle of winter at my parents, at my, you know, Tiggy touching.
Yeah, I haven't heard that term since the 90s.
Yeah. Well, tag or whatever you want to call
American
it.
viewers out there.
Yeah. Or whatever you want to call it, right? And, I'd be out there breathing, and then I remember I'd be like, but, I wanted to get back out there because it was fun, and it was more important to be out there having fun than thinking about, oh, gee, I should be sitting in the warmth, breathing like warm air in.
Yeah.
So, like, as a kid, often I was like getting really sick or having asthma attacks a lot more often.
Yeah.
Now I very rarely have it.
Yeah.
Maybe just more the change of temperature. But, did you find maybe being a young kid that it was a lot worse than, say, for example, now being an adult, you're more mindful of what's going on, if that makes sense?
I think I've definitely learnt a lot more now to be able to take the best care of my health possible. I think when I was younger as well, it really fell back onto my parents, and they did an exceptional job in terms of like making sure that I stayed healthy.
Can I just say, sorry, that my parents did an exceptional job too, but I was a undiagnosed ADHD kid running around like a chook with my head cut off. So there was a lot of other things my parents probably had to deal with as well.
I think with the parent piece as well. Oh no, what was I going to say? I just lost my train of thought. No, what I was going to say was when you're a kid, there's kind of that like free spirited, like I'm just going to do whatever I want and have fun.
Yeah.
And I actually think for me in that instance, that actually did me a really like great service, because I was always just running around and, being a normal kid. And for me, because of the exercise part and the activity part, that was one of the best things that I could do. I did have to be really mindful about being in situations around other kids that, that may be sick or that may have had like colds and flus, because it's a lot easier to pick up infections and bugs, especially when you're young and when your immune system is still trying to develop. So places like childcares or, indoor swimming pools, like my parents tried to keep me away from them.
Wow, interesting.
But other than that, no.
Were you affected by, say, COVID at all? Like, is that I know it's a bad thing, but like, yeah, if out of curiosity,
to flus and things.
So same pretty much as any like cold and flu in terms of being mindful about it. And like I had it the first time and I was totally fine. I was fine the second, like I think I had it twice maybe. And funnily enough, like no, because I also learnt and experimented with a lot of cold and flu remedies. So I'm very much more like a natural, not gonna say natural, I prefer natural remedies of, things rather than antibiotics where I can. So I got very good at managing when I did have colds. And
could you recommend any good natural remedies for our listeners?
Yeah, so I always say like from an anti-inflammatory, or if you have cold and flu. So I always make like a brew, which is like ginger, lemon, a heap of garlic, and really good quality honey. That's what I'll make, and I'll just drink that, like a couple of cups of that a day until it's gone. But the other really big one,
your breath, I bet your breath wouldn't taste too good.
Gross. It's gross, but it works. So good.
Hey, sorry, is it true as well that if you wear like garlic or onions in your socks, like that can help? Has anyone ever heard that one before?
I have tried that actually. I tried it in my socks when I was sleeping.
I've done this on the web for true as well. If you were like,
sorry, my Siri was just sorry. What were you saying?
I said I have tried the onions in socks when you're sleeping. Because one of my clients actually recommended it, but she said also if you cut an onion and you put it in your room, it's supposed to help clear out like congestion in your lungs.
Did it work?
I only did it for one night, so I can't give you a proper.
Okay, yeah, we might have to go to the research on that one, eh?
Next time I'll do a proper experiment.
Yeah. All right. So garlic, onion. What else did you? Ginger.
Garlic, lemon,
and
ginger,
honey. Good quality honey.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Where could you get the good quality honey from?
The Manuka.
Oh, yeah, from a chemist.
The Manuka honey, but it's like MG plus. At least 50.
And how much are you putting in there? Like much or not much at all?
Per cup, I'd probably put about a teaspoon.
Oh, okay, that's not that much.
No,
I was thinking you might put in like half
No.
a cup or something. Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. No, that's cool. You know, it was interesting when you and I were talking before you came on, and I was sharing with you, you know, some names about what we could call this show and all of that type of stuff. And you said, look, can we, you know, instead of using invisible disability, could we, you know, put it as invisible condition? So, you know, I'm pretty sure this is the this is the question. So, you know, what are your thoughts? It would look really bad if I got the wrong question for that one, wouldn't it? What's your thinking behind that? And the reason being, we've actually had a lot of people in certain situations say, look, you know, we'd prefer to use this type of words. Because Kev, Photon John, what was her name? The one who was doing the stuff with the research on drug use in aged care homes.
Oh, that was Erin.
Yeah, Erin. Yeah. Remember, she was talking about, what was she talking about? Like, not referring to people, say, as like drug addicts.
Yeah, rather than you know, rehab, it was harm reduction. I think that was the thing. So she was focused on harm reduction rather than complete abstinence, but not just that, but also, even if it was complete abstinence, it was the idea of harm reduction in the approach to people who are having these issues with substances, and as part of that involves simply the language. You know, and
so you wouldn't be say like a drug addict, you'd be like a drug was it drug user? Yeah, and you wouldn't say a drug abuse or something like that.
Well, and there's just, you know, I know within the neurodivergent community, there's a lot of conversation around this. Some people don't like the term disability. Some people do. Some people like to say it's a superpower. Some of us don't. And it's a very nuanced conversation. And I think different people are entitled to different opinions on this. But what's your personal take on this? Why do you prefer condition?
Yeah, and so when I said this to you, Will, more of my, I guess, overarching point with this is I'm really mindful around the language that I use about the condition, about the condition mainly, but also for when people have conversations. So even like in the medical sense, my mum, for example, when like very early days, she was like, this is the language that we will and will not use around like Bella. More because I don't know if you guys have experienced this as well, but some of the conversations can be very like negatively geared and quite heavy and really affect you mentally. So I'm very much a big believer in what's the quote? The words you use are become the house you live in. So I'm very much about like positive affirmations, yes, but positive language around health conditions, the way that you handle things, what you're doing, like all of that. And so in condition or challenge is one that I will often use, but I'm not a fan of like disease or disability or anything like that, because I think it's very negative and heavy.
No, that's a good point. I like that, because like I when you said invisible condition, it just feels like like a bit, and like Photon John said before as well, right? You know, some people like to use the word disability, for example, and others don't, and that's perfectly fine. But I think for us, you know, I don't see myself as having a learning disability. I know I'm dyslexic. I know I'm ADHD. Maybe I've had some struggles, but personally, I don't like using those terms either. But each to their own at the end of the day as well.
Absolutely, and I also think it's much more empowering using positive language, like the way that you personally believe or think about your health and your condition plays a huge part into, you know, the decisions that you make, the conversations that you have, all of it. So I think, yeah.
But listening to you, you have a realistic positivity, if you know what I mean. It's not, you know, there's increasingly the term toxic positivity is starting to go around a bit, you know, where it's sort of just denial of reality, you know.
Toxic positivity? That's sort of like one bad versus a good type of thing.
Like, well, no, where it's like being positive to the point where you disregard certain realities that you do need to face.
Disregard certain.
So, yeah. And you don't sound like that. You sound like you've got your head screwed on right, and you're using positivity in the correct way. So it's nice. It's nice to see.
I can tell you right now, you got your head screwed on a lot better than what I did when I was your age.
Yeah.
Right on, John. What do you reckon, mate?
Absolutely, yeah.
Totally.
No, it's so true. And I do think like the realism piece is like a big factor. I think you can't live in la la land when you have something like this. It's not something that you can walk away from. It's not something you can pretend you don't have. There are legitimate things that you need to take care of on a daily basis.
The positive mindset helps.
For the rest of it, like live the life that you want, like create the life that you want. And that's what I'm about. Like be the advocate for your health, work out what works, ask the questions, do the research so that you can then make the decisions to, you know.
Because like I think you sort of almost answered the question before I asked it to you. Because it's like, to sum up, what's the message you'd like to get out to others with your condition or an invisible condition in general? Could you elaborate on that maybe?
Yeah.
Because you've pretty much just said it just then, right? But like, you know, maybe there's other people out there who, you know, and I think as well, like we're talking about before with positive affirmation, is that the word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
You know, maybe people are seeing themselves as a disability and can't see that the positives to it. Like you said, there are a lot of, and don't get me wrong, like Photon John and myself, we've got some negatives in regards to some of the things we have to live with, but there are so many positives to the things that we're doing. One, the podcast, the other stuff we're doing outside of the podcast, just us in general.
And the perspective, you know, that an invisible condition can give you on life, you know, that other people don't get the opportunity to have.
100%. And like just on that, before I answer this question, I think I'm not going to say that this is like complete. It's been a big factor in shaping how I am as a person and the way that I think about all of these things. Like the perspective that I have now is drastically different to if I had lived a different life. You know, I can't say what it would be because I haven't lived that life, but it definitely gives you perspective into the challenges that people live with, but also the mindset required to live with something like this, and knowing that you are going to have bad days, but not getting stuck in them. So one thing I always say is like, know that you will have bad days, but choosing like, what's one thing that I can do today that's going to make me feel better? And it doesn't have to be something that you should do. It just has to be something that like you want to do and you can do. Like the list of things that to be grateful for, I can almost guarantee you will be a lot longer than the things that aren't so great in your life, health condition or not, you know. So I guess my message would be, sorry, did you want to ask me?
No, keep going.
You finish it.
I was going to say is like being the advocate for your own health. So the information that you're given, if you are given a diagnosis, know that this is general and that this may not be your reality. So again, ask all of the questions, do your research, find a community that is supportive and will share stories and hold space for you, and then go about creating the life that you want based on all of that.
Hold space for you. I love that.
Because I think a good example of that is that, you know, if your parents had have listened to, say, and I'm sure your parents did listen to the doctors, but you would have been in there every 2 weeks where they looked outside of that and did the research, and
Yeah.
you know, they've got this fantastic human who's kicking goals and is going to continue to kick goals and for a long time to go yet.
Yeah.
How can I say, you know, Will, you're talking about how someone Bella's age wouldn't often have their head screwed on quite so straight. I think that speaks to.
I think it was just me. I'm talking about it me.
But that speaks to the us, both of us, I'm sure, did not have shit together like Bella does. But I think that perspective we're talking about, that this kind of thing can give you, would be part of the reason for that. You know,
Massively
looking at life through a whole different lens to everyone else. You know.
Yeah. And like what you said, like parents wise, I am so unbelievably grateful that that was the path that they chose, because we have fought like hell to create the life that we have. And I think if you're willing to put in the work, you can do whatever you want. You know?
Yeah, great. And that can go with anything, business.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you probably see people like yourself and people like Kevin, Photon John and myself. Sorry, Photon John, I've been doing too well with your name today, have I, mate? Hey, I've been trying, man. I've been trying. It's
So
sometimes...
Sorry, just quickly to our viewers out there, my art name for everything that I do with music and everything else is Photon John. It's a stage name. My name's Kevin, so don't get up with it.
I had to ask what the whole Kevin thing was.
I'm trying to bring it all under one. I'm trying to bring it all under one umbrella to make it less confusing, but I might be making it more confusing.
But when you have known someone for as long as I've known Photon John for, and I've known him as Kev, it's very difficult to like try and go back to it when you're doing it once a fortnight.
Exactly.
So
sorry, we're taking away from Billy.
Sorry, but what I was going to sort of finish on type of thing was that, like, you know, I think sometimes we see that people who have had that struggle in early parts of their life can almost be a really good thing for when they want to go on to, say, business or become elite sports people or whatever that is. That sometimes the what do you call it, like the strength, something like that, that's going to help you to thrive later on in life type of thing. So sometimes everything happens for a reason. Sometimes it's just hard to see that.
Oh yeah. And I think it's very much character building, you know, the characteristics that you have to develop sometimes to deal with those things and deal with the mental challenges that come along with that. Like, you're very resilient, and it takes a lot of, I would say, bravery and courage to step away from what's always been done or what you've been told to do to create something different.
Yeah, totally. There's so many people who, and I think as well, it's a good point there, especially when you're trying to do something different. So many people are used to one way of thinking, doing things. So when you're trying to do something a little bit different, people may look at you as weird. But if you keep persisting towards that, and we're sort of finding that with Neurodiversity Academy, you will start to get your tribe behind you, and others will start to see that. And then people will see that there's a whole bunch of people behind it, and then they'll go, oh my God, yeah, now I get it type of thing. So it can just sometimes take time. But Bella, thank you so much for coming on today. You are a legend. But you know, if people want to get in touch with you and the awesome work that you're doing, where can they find you?
Yeah, so I will send across the links, but my website is probably the best place to access me. I believe on there is like my email and my Instagram.
So what is your email address? I'll see if I can type it in.
Do you want me to put? Oh, can I put it in the chat?
Yeah, put it into the chat, and then I can put it up on the screen, and I'll read it out so all of our listeners can listen to what we're saying.
There you go.
All right, cool. All right. Oh, so that's your email, correct?
That's the email. That's the Instagram. And then this.
Okay, so here we go. Let's see if I can get this happening. All right. So oh no, it's coming. Oh no, here we go. So all right.
Ad hoc.
All right. So if you want to email Bella, go to hello@haloeffect.com.au, correct?
Yep.
Nice. And if you would like to connect with Bella on hang on.
Instagram.
On Instagram there. Hang on, let's see. You gotta remember I'm not like a we need like a producer, Photon John, who can like get all this stuff happening. So if you want to check out Bella's Instagram account, go to @the_Halo_Effect Instagram. Correct?
No, it's just __.
Double underscore. Okay, double underscore. Okay, because I would never have picked that up. Okay, cool. And then last but not least, let's get the your website address here, and I might spell that out for anyone who is listening. Okay. And if you want to go to Bella's email address, it is www.haloeffect, so HALOEFFECT.com.au. Yeah. Pretty awesome, yeah?
Amazing.
What do you think of that one, Photon John?
It was great.
You like that one?
Very quick personal anecdote. My friend in the 90s, her name was Lily. I called my first band actually Lily's Wish after her. And she unfortunately didn't survive and had a really hard time. It's been personally a little bit moving to talk to someone like yourself and see you thriving physically as well as mentally so much. It's been really awesome.
Totally. So thank you so much for coming on today. It's been so grateful. We're so grateful to hear your awesome story. And for any of our listeners who haven't already done so, please subscribe, like, and follow to all of our social media platforms. My name's Will Wheeler, joined with my main man, Photon John, and this is Neurodivergent Mates. Till next time.